Yeah, he looked good in practice, and I'll have a conversation with him on the plane here. But I liked what I saw. Obviously, I was very comfortable starting practice and putting him on a line, which going in, my confidence level was high. And as I mentioned many times, when this thing resolves, it's gonna completely resolve. And until it resolves, it's gonna impede him in what he needs to do. It's just one of those injuries that will impede your functioning until it resolves completely, and that could happen overnight. And today was a very good sign.
It's a huge game for you. What can you draw, both good and bad, from the last month or so, where this team has gone through pressure, but now you're on a good streak? What going into this big game, what can you draw from maybe the last month that you can bring?
Every single game comes down to having a clear picture on what you need to execute. Clear picture, and it starts with how you play. And as mentioned 2 weeks ago, we were struggling, and I told this room I had 100% confidence that we were going to resolve it after a real bad loss, and I think it was Nashville, 2 bad losses in a row. And I was getting lots of questions and said, there is no doubt that we'll be able to fix this and resolve this, because the resolution is very simple and very straightforward. It's just getting back to how we play. It's not changing things, and there's nothing wrong with this system. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just we were in our own heads, and we weren't playing to our identity. So you fast forward to now and going into tomorrow, there will be a game plan and a strategy with every team you play, and the clearer you make it, the better. But you need to play your game. You need to play to your identity. And, through stress, we've been able to internalize that better. But we're still young, and to my observation, we are not doing it consistently enough, to my liking, period. And that's my job. That's my job as a head coach, is to make sure we do it more and better. And when we get that down, you do it faster, you do it stronger, you do it with more authority, and that's how things progress. And so, we've gotten back to our identity. Can we play it even better? Yes. Are we pushing to do that? Yes.
How significant to you was Saturday in that? A lot of times when you guys get off to rugged starts, it's been hard for you guys to find it and change the direction of a game. And you guys completely changed the direction of that game Saturday. How significant was that in your mind?
Well, what I felt Saturday, we were about to lose it emotionally on the bench. The emotional energy was going to more fear, and it was able to turn. I think the coaches laid out a real clear picture that after the first period we could pick a couple clips and measure. And we were talking on the bench at the same time that we are not executing what has been laid out. Just turn your attention to that execution, and this is going to work out fine. And obviously you're still in the first period. It's a 1-0 game at that point. Once we kind of collectively, re-zeroed in on what the game plan was, I thought our guys executed it very well, and there was a great sense of calm to them, as we saw in the second period. There was lots of poise with the puck, lots of calm with the puck, compared to erratic play with the puck in the first period. And again, I say it all the time, I don't care what system you run. You cannot defend turnovers. There's not a system in hockey that defends turnovers. You're out of your structure. You have no defensive structure when you turn a puck over, and that got us in trouble in the first a bit.
Devon Levi had such a build up to his debut. It went very well. How now, with a very young goalie like that, do you transition him? He's a regular part of the team. He plays when you make the call for him, and he just gets ready for whatever game he gets. That build up isn't there, but he's got to kind of just become an NHL player now.
He's got to stay ready. We gave him a lot of reps in his own net today for that reason. Just stay ready. He needs a little more volume and repetition than the other guys who are 70 games into a season and have faced it. And the other guys have been good with that, knowing that this is a chance. Practice. This was Devon's third practice, so we're giving him that opportunity to see more shots and more volume where we can. But I think he's been through this. He's in a routine He played his college season in a rhythm for that. So I don't really worry about him getting ready. He's pretty dialed in, and his preparation is very, if not intense, it's regimen and detailed, and so he knows how to keep himself ready and be ready. I just think it's just a matter of, again, using practice today was another good opportunity for him to get more high volume quality shooters against him. And yeah, I'm comfortable with him. I mean, I think from one, the skill standpoint, and two, his preparation.
How did Casey see his opportunities between Jeff and Alex, I guess?
I'm sorry, how did he?
How did he had a great opportunity, and he seemed like he did well with it between on the first line. Just like, what did you see from him, I guess?
I saw, high skill in the sense of ability to read plays and read plays in layers. There's going to be option A right now, in 1 or 2 seconds, and there's going to be options B and C are opening up, and I can open them up. And we saw that on several of the goals he set up in the last 2 games. So, he is, and again, when you're playing top line, you're often playing with top pairing defensemen that process. I mean, we know our top 2 pairs have guys that process offensively. So you've got another guy on a 5-man unit out on the ice with you. When you're on the third line, you don't have that on. So lots of times Casey didn't have top 2-line pairing offensive-minded defensemen with him through the season. That's a significant impact. And so he's taken advantage of this as an opportunity, but he's always kept himself prepared to take advantage of it. That's why I continually used his performance on a power play as a barometer, a gauge to, yes, this guy is effective. When you give him 4 offensive processing people around him, he will fit in and create and make plays. And a credit to Casey to endure and stay on it and fight through it till that opportunity comes. And that's why I've said, from day one, you don't want to commit to one line, a top line, because you're boxing out other talented players. And that's the reason why we lose Thompson for a period, and someone can step right in like that. We lost Tuch, and it really hurt us for a significant portion. So that's the need to continue to develop other guys and make sure we aren't beating up other guys for the wrong reasons.
What's the biggest reason for Casey's growth through this season?
Compete. Very, there's lots of things you can pick apart about guys' games and evaluate guys' games, but there's guys that work hard. So in between games or in the shooting room and the weight room and whatever, and that's work ethic. But when a puck drops in between you and a guy that's your competitor, it's competitiveness. So if he raises the bar, you've got to be willing to raise the bar. If he punches you in the nose, you better be ready to go one better. And Casey has that. He has grit and compete, and you see it in those instances, physically instances. You saw it in the Ranger game, you saw it the other night. He will not be denied because he's an ultra competitive athlete. So for me, that is something that is extremely valuable and is aligned with teams that win up and down their lineup, competitive people. And you might think that everybody in this league is competitive. They're not. They're just not. But he is one of them.
Getting back to Saturday, if I could, for one moment, would you agree that maybe the biggest play of that game was Kyle? I mean, you hadn't had a shot in 13 minutes, and he came through the neutral zone like, all right, enough is enough. I mean, somebody's got a hold of his stick, he yanks it away, he just drives to the net with purpose. Was that the play right there that maybe
that
was
was
the biggest play of the game for you?
That was a significant play in, I think, sending a message to our opponent. Yes. I also think that Krebs' pass was a huge play on that play. There's the patience to wait and give it to Oki at the right time. So yeah, I think that the entirety of that play, there was some impact both ways. I think it was Philly was having a good period, and despite having a good period, we were able to just take one chance and put it in the back of the net with some authority, as you mentioned. That was authority. That was a guy fighting off what could have been a penalty against, to get open and grab the puck without stick handling. There was no indecisive. A lot of times when you see a guy catch a puck and they stick handle, they're very indecisive. He caught that puck, he kept it on his forehand, and he ripped it. There was nothing indecisive about that. And so yes, there was a lot to it that you could translate into a big impact in that game. But I think the message to the opponent was a big one there.
As far as Alex goes, we talked so much about his growth this year, and now here it is, it's April, and he has, whatever, 35 goals. Does it just boil down to he sees his opportunity, he ran with it? I mean, you can probably slice it a million different ways, but I guess, what do you point to when you look at it?
Well, there was no choice. He was going to seize it because we were going to keep giving him opportunity and pushing him, and we pushed him hard. I've talked to him a lot about, he, as good as you think you are, that you're wrong. You're better, and we need to get you there, and it's time. So when I'm giving him more opportunity and more ice time, I'm also saying, you need to get a job done here. You need to elevate here, because I'm not going to get off your back until you do, because you're going to be thrust in this next situation. Penalty kill, late in games, key face-offs, defensive zone, key face-offs, offensive zone. So, for me, I needed to get him in those situations and tell him I'm putting you in these situations because I'm going to demand more out of you in this situation. So, and I think he's demanding more and more out of himself, where, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to, demand as much out of him. He's demanding, and even in practice today, he sent a message that to the group in practice on an initiative, a detail that I stopped the practice for. And immediately when we went back to work, he went right at it and said, hey, this is how the job gets done. And one of his teammates didn't like it too much.